Okay, let's do this. I'm moving to California. I cannot even believe it, and I'm going to talk to you guys all about it in today's video. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so grateful as always that you are here with me today. For today's video, I'm going to be talking all about moving to Los Angeles, California. So excited, so let's jump right on into it. So I'm currently coming to you guys from my room in Austin, Texas. I have lived in Austin, Texas for about 3.5 years right now, and coming in October, I'm going to embark on the move from Texas to California, where I'm going to be moving to Los Angeles. I'm so excited to announce this huge move, and I first announced it over on my Instagram if you want to check out over there for some more live updates on my move, everything like that. I tend to share more of my life in the moment over there, but I wanted to update my friends over here on YouTube that I am going to be making the move to Los Angeles come October. And as I prepare for this move and as I announced this move, I wanted it to share a little more insight into why I'm moving, when I'm moving, all those sorts of things. So I asked you guys over on my Instagram to leave me some questions about my big move to California, and so I have my phone pulled up right here, and I'm just going to answer a little moving to California Q&A. So let's get right on into it. Okay, first question is, how did you choose LA? So I received this question a lot, and it's quite a long God story, so I'm gonna try to do some like bullet point details, but essentially God has been foreshadowing this move to California for probably 3 or 4 years. It truly was not something that was ever really on my radar, and it was never something I ever truly considered for myself until God began to truly open up every single doorway, make every single sign clear, and show me evidence that this is where He was leading me. Even in the decision to make this move, I was so clear with God. I was like, I am not moving unless it's an absolute open doorway from you, unless you absolutely make every detail happen, and unless you, God, are the one who puts everything into motion. This is not going to be by my own strength. This is going to be by yours. And as I've been praying that, and especially in these past few months of anticipation and being led to this conclusion, I just saw God's hand so evidently on this move to LA that it was undeniable that this was Him and His desires for my life more than it was even my own. Quick little backstory. So ever since I moved to Austin, literally since the first month I moved to Austin, it is like a well-known thing that people from California like to move to Austin because Austin is the best city in Texas. But I remember within the first month of living in Austin, I was at a restaurant and I was waiting for my table with a friend, and I had told the barista who was making my coffee for brunch that morning, I was like, yeah, I just moved to Austin, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh, are you from California? And I shared the significance of that because that is the first moment that precedes many moments afterwards, that my entire time living in Austin, people have always assumed instinctually that I was from California before I would even give them a moment to guess, or like give them a moment to or give myself a moment to even share where I'm actually from. And so I can see now in hindsight how God was always foreshadowing my move to California. And I remember probably a year or two back, I was in the car with my roommate, and I remember driving and sharing with her another instance about someone assuming I was from California. And she goes, yeah, that's so crazy. And I was like, what if this is God, foreshadowing that I'm meant to move to California one day? Ha ha ha. And fast forward to now, I see how in hindsight, God was always preparing my heart for this. Another really important thing to me, as I'm sure you guys know, and maybe I haven't spoken on as much as I would have liked, but it's just how God speaks to me through butterflies. The first time I ever felt like God was speaking to me through butterflies was actually when I visited California for the very first time just last summer. I was in Santa Barbara, California, and it was the first time that I noticed butterflies through frequency that I was like, God is speaking to me through butterflies. I remember telling my best friend that went with me on that trip, and since then I've seen God speak to me so much through butterflies and all that they embody body and all they represent. And now in hindsight, that is another way that God was foreshadowing this move all along. And there are so many details to this story, you guys. I wish I could share, and maybe I will share in a story time, but it is one of those things where God has done so much to affirm that this is his next desire for my life and my story, that it feels so sacred for me to even go to those depths. Because you know when sometimes God is doing something so big and so grandiose in our life, nobody can truly understand but you. Nobody can understand the feelings of peace. No one can understand those moments that you're just mind blown because God showed up in a way that you could have never expected, or maybe even in a way that you've never even seen. And that is what my move to Los Angeles, California has been. God has affirmed this 1,000 times over. He has opened up my heart, softened my heart, prepared my heart. And even every single time I would visit California, even if it was just for like a quick 48-hour trip, people would always assume that I was from California. People would ask me for directions. People would ask me how long I lived there, even down to, I remember earlier this year, my first time going to California this year, not ever, but this year, was back in May. And as I was checking my bag at the airport, the woman, you know, like how the attendant like always like looks at your ID and asks you, where are you going? And so I'm like putting my bag on the scale, and the attendant was like, where are you going? And I was like, Los Angeles. And she goes, oh, are you so excited to go home? And in that same breath, I'm handing her my ID, and she looks at my ID and sees that it's a Texas ID, and she goes, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just assumed that you were from California. And so that is something that I would always think was so crazy to me, that anytime I was in California in particular, people would always assume that I was from California, even though I'm from a very small town in Texas. And so all that's to say, God has just made it evidently clear that Los Angeles, California is where I'm meant to go for reasons beyond what I could even explain. So that is why I'm going to Los Angeles. Next question is, what are you the most excited and nervous about? I am so excited to really challenge myself in taking the leap of faith and moving out of my home state. I am from Texas through and through. I'm from a really small town, and I've moved around a lot. I moved to Lubbock, Texas for college, and then I moved to Austin, Texas as a young professional. But I'm so excited to embark on this big move of moving out of my home state and going to a different state. It is a very big leap of faith, and it's something that I personally haven't done up to this point in my life. So I'm very excited to challenge myself and grow myself and encounter a new form of independence with myself by removing myself out of what is familiar, removing myself out of what I've always known, and embarking on the, journey of being in a new state with new people and new everything. It's going to be completely different than anything I've ever known and actually have lived in. And so I'm really excited to see all the ways that I'm going to grow and be refined, and also finding a new independence and confidence within myself. I think it's going to be very just transformational for me, and I think it's going to be so necessary to prepare me for all the other things that are ahead in my life, even though I don't know what those things are. And so I'm very excited for that. I'm so thrilled that I'm going to get to live by the ocean. That is like my dream come true. And as someone who has lived in Texas her whole life, I've only ever been on the lake my whole life, and I would always associate the ocean or the beach as like vacation, and the fact that that is going to be so accessible to me, and that is going to be my everyday of just standing in the vast beauty that is the ocean, the majesty of the ocean. I think I'm really excited to experience God's heart in a totally different way, because I think naturally when we go anywhere new and we encounter a different part of nature than maybe what we're used to seeing, we really get the opportunity to encounter God's heart in a completely different way. And so I'm so excited to begin having those encounters and falling in love with different scenes and different parts of God's heart. And I'm just so excited for, honestly, the diversity of California. I think that's something that I really crave and really love living in Austin. I'm someone who loves diversity. I love encountering people who are all different walks of life, different ethnicities, different backgrounds, different stories, different beliefs, different everything. I think that is the beauty of life, and I think that is a glimpse of heaven, is diversity and everything included. And so I love Austin for that very reason, because I think that is so accessible. But I'm excited because I feel like Los Angeles, California is going to be that to another magnitude of, I can't even imagine the stories that people have there. I can't even imagine the backgrounds people have there. I can't even imagine the careers people are pursuing there. And that sort of diversity excites me because it gives me the expectancy that there are so many more people to love to capacities I've never experienced myself, and also so many, you know, life experiences and energies and personalities and everything that I get to be sharpened by. So I'm really excited for that. And yeah, I'm excited just to love on the city. I mean, Los Angeles is a really big county, but I also want to share a story of like when I was moving to Austin. I remember when I first moved to Austin, I just like had probably a week where I just wept over the city, because up to that point in my life, Austin, Texas was the biggest city I'd ever lived in, and it was also naturally, the bigger the city, the more darkness that there is in a city. And so I remember coming to Austin and just weeping over the city of Austin, weeping over the people that need Jesus, and I felt so like burdened in a beautiful way, like a burden as if it was an invitation from God of like, Bree, you are going to labor for this city and you are going to touch lives in this city, and this is the mission that I'm calling you to. And I remember that feeling was so distinct and so impactful for me, and really was like the fuel beneath my fire to allow me to enter spaces and pursue people as Jesus pursues people. And I've seen the evidence and the good fruit of all the ways that the Lord has used me these past couple years of living in Austin. And all that's to say, that memory is so unique to me. That moment and that encounter with God is so unique to me. And I haven't experienced that since, except for when I went to Los Angeles. I was praying one day and I just like was asking God, I was like, God, where do you want me to go? Like, why do I feel so overwhelmed by being here? I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, are you calling me to move? And it was as if I was overcome with the same emotion that I was overcome with all the years ago when I first moved to Austin, of just weeping and crying over the city of Los Angeles, over the county of Los Angeles. And I just felt in that moment just my heart breaking for the people who didn't know his name. And that is like the heart that God gave me over the city of Los Angeles, of like, Bree, like there's an invitation on the table for you. If you want to labor for these people, if you want to go into these places and love these people, this is available for you. And I just, of course, I'm not Jesus. I'm not going to reach the whole city of Los Angeles, but I believe that there are people that I'm meant to meet, that I'm meant to love, and I'm meant to be loved by. And so all that's to say, I'm excited for that. I'm like going on a tangent. What I'm nervous about being out of my home state. I'm nervous about, you know, naturally making new friends and getting into the swing of a new life. I'm nervous about being farther away from family, all those sorts of things, and saying goodbyes or saying see you laters to my friends here in Texas. That's definitely going to be very hard. And I'm nervous about like, what is it going to look like to be a really intentional friend at a distance and not in proximity? And so I'm nervous about those things, but I'm more excited than I'm nervous, just because I know that God goes before me in this, and I know that he has blessed this path long before I even knew it was coming. So that was a really long answer, but that is my answer. Next question is, do you have a community there, and what church are you going to? I am so thankful, and once again, this is such a detail of the Lord. I do have a community that I'm going to be stepping into when going there. I've met so many people out there while visiting and quickly got plugged into a church, so I am going to be plugged in pretty immediately. As of right now, I'm looking at going to a church called Vintage LA, and so I'm very excited to immerse myself in community. And I think that was something that I found really refreshing when going to California, is that in California, it's not the norm to have faith, whereas in, I believe, like places like the South, it's more normal and customary to be a Christian, whereas in, you know, California or like other states, being a Christian is not something that's like the norm and not everyone's like reality. And so I think I'm really excited because the believers that I have encountered there are so solid and so rooted and so anchored in a way that's not customary. It's not cultural. It's like, it truly is countercultural. And so I'm very excited to be stepping into a community where I see people who are so anchored and who are going to sharpen me and grow me and even challenge my faith up to this point in my life. So I'm very grateful for that. Next question is, how long will you stay in California? I actually got that twice, which is so funny because I'm moving, so I don't really have like a time frame. I don't really have this expectation of how long I'm going to be there. I'm just, you know, following the call of moving and just going from there. But as of right now, I'm planning on staying there as long as I love it and as long as the Lord needs me. So who knows what that could look like. I know my time frame in Austin, I've lived here for about 3.5 years. And it's funny though, because when I moved to Austin, God told me that he was like, give me 3 years, Brie. Give me 3 to 4 years and then I'll move you. Like, I heard that very clearly from God, and it's funny how that timeline actually came to perfect fruition. So I have no idea how long I'll be there, as long as the Lord wants me. Okay, next question is, what will you miss the most? Of course, I will miss Texas first and foremost. I'm so grateful to be a Texas girl through and through. I'm a small town girl. I will miss Texas. I will miss Austin, of course. I love Austin as a city, and I feel so fortunate to be moving from a city that I love and admire so much. It's by no means a city that I'm like eagerly trying to get out of or like is not wonderful. It's literally a city that so many people desire to move to. It's one of the top cities in the US to live in. So I'm so grateful to be coming from that and going to something wonderful as well. So I will definitely miss the city, but of course, the first and foremost priority, I'm gonna miss my deep friendships that I have here in the city. They are definitely a grievance of mine to leave behind, and it's something that I just have to continue to press in and trust God so much that he's moving me for a purpose that is bigger than I can see right now, and bigger and better than even my hardest goodbyes that I'm making now. So that is gonna be super duper hard for me. I'm gonna miss I'll probably miss like this different seasons as well. I know that California is like summer all year long, which I know I'm gonna absolutely adore, but I'm sure there'll be moments where I'm like, you know, I would love like fall weather, winter weather, I don't know. Of course, gonna miss proximity to my family. My family as of right now is about a 2.5 hour drive from Austin, Texas. So instead of a 2.5 hour drive, I'm gonna be about a 3-hour flight. So that's definitely gonna be very different, and not having immediate access to my family is gonna be very new for me. But I also believe all of these things are gonna be so growing for me. So I'm definitely gonna miss a lot. And of course I'm gonna miss like my favorite coffee shops and my favorite restaurants and all that sort of stuff. But I'm so excited to like learn the land of my new space and new city in California. This question says, are you more excited or scared? I'm definitely more excited than scared, because I trust that God goes before me in this. God did not author this, navigate this, and lead me to this just to forsake me and to abandon me. God has led me here because I believe that abundance is available, and I believe that there's a really special invitation that he's inviting me into. So I'm definitely super duper excited. Last question I will answer is, do you know anyone there? This was kind of asked before. I would love to move to a new place, but I'm anxious to do it alone. I feel very fortunate that I do know people there that I've met, more specifically within the past couple weeks as I've been traveling to LA. I just got plugged in and introduced to people super duper quickly, but I originally went to LA only knowing one friend, and she's about to be my future roommate, which I'm so excited. And we actually met on a trip to Yosemite, which is so crazy. We met on a trip very randomly back in last November. We met on a trip, I'm being from Texas, she being from California. We connected so instantaneously, so quickly, that I was like, this girl is gonna be a good friend of mine. So anytime I would, you know, visit California, I would of course see her, but even through the distance, we would always keep up with one another. And so when I spent those 3 weeks in California to try to figure out if California is a place I wanted to move, I of course connected with her, and she introduced me to such a wide range of community out in California. So for that reason, I am very fortunate to be stepping into a community of people who are so excited to welcome me to Los Angeles. So I feel very fortunate for that, and I know that that is like such a good starting foundation to have friendships with believers around me and to feel like I know people. So yeah, I'm very fortunate for that. But I think that is going to be all the questions that I'm going to answer today for moving stuff. I'm so excited to share more with you guys as time goes on. I'm sure that there will be so many more updates to share. But I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for following along on this big journey. I know that some of you guys who've been watching me very intently for very long have probably seen the foreshadowing of this for literally the longest time. And so I'm so grateful to finally be announcing this big and wonderful news. Praise God. I'm so grateful. I can't wait to take you guys along every single step of the way. So thank you guys so much for loving me so well. I love you guys immensely, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye guys!